Wednesday, May 4th. And I would say it was a day we were looking forward to for a while, but honestly, that day was a little bit before this until they pushed back Bowman Baseball. But finally, Bowman Baseball is released today for 2022. So we're going to talk about that. Also, we have the biggest fallers from our Just Baseball Top 100 prospect list that I know T has pulled out right now to discuss those guys and whether we should be cooling off from buying them or be interested in them. It's Cardboard Consultants, brought to you by Loop. As always, I'm your host, Arm Layton. We got Kendall and T Wright, Kendall McGee. Guys, we're back together now. A lot of fun talking cards. Big day that we've waited for a while with an awesome checklist. And you guys already scooped up a ton of blasters. I know you guys are in good shape right now with wild cards. How has the early opening been with the 2022 Bowman Baseball?
Yeah, so we got our hands on about 15 or so and did a 10 blaster break on Friday. The break sold out in 30 minutes, which was fantastic. We love that.
Which you love it when that happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, I bought one of the spots admittedly.
Yeah. So very, very good response, positive response, which we were expecting. I mean, this product, we've been waiting, and the anticipation's been building up in the card community for quite some time. It didn't disappoint, in my opinion. Blasters, you're going to have a different kind of experience. There's no guaranteed hits. The hits are also pretty erratic, as we found out by opening up 10 of these blasters. I'll let Kendall kind of talk about a little bit about that. But today's the day that the hobby version, both the regular hobbies and the jumbos, drop. We're expecting 2 cases at our doorstep any minute. So we're super, super excited about that, which will officially kick off Bowman 2022 season. So Kendall, what do you think about, outside of, or maybe in line with it being kind of the hits being erratic, what do you think about that first break that we did?
Yeah, our stuff was almost a disappointment in the first 10 blasters, but blaster breaks are so just hit and miss. Like sometimes you can pull, like for instance, there's been the one of one Wander was pulled out of a blaster, a hanger of the Topps product. So it's like that kind of stuff can be pulled from these blasters too. So yes. You just never really know. But right. So I also bought 6 boxes individually. So I've opened, I think, 20 blasters at this point since last Friday. And I've seen 6 autos out of those 20.
Yeah.
So
that's pretty impressive. That's pretty crazy.
Pretty good. Yeah,
it is good. But I opened a couple that day myself. I didn't get a single color parallel at all, like nothing. And then I opened one today, and I got a Ricardo Genovese auto chrome first, a Fidel Montero to 199 chrome first, and a Dahlback color paper to 499. So 3 hits and 1 blaster. It's just
just sporadic, like you said.
Of hits. And the 2021 product was, you could pretty much count that you were going to get a color, one color or better of some kind. In per box. Now it's just completely sporadic. So it's a little weird, but of course it makes it fun when you open up a blaster and you get 3 hits in 1 box. You're like, for $30, it's the best value in the entire hobby. So
I ended up, so I was doing some research this morning on just Bowman blasters in general, and there's been a lot of complaints about some of the algorithms that Topps has used in this first onset of boxes, and there's a lot of people complaining about duplicate packs, and not only like duplicates in terms of like the first 5 cards are duplicates, because that happens pretty commonly, but it's like the exact same, like chrome and hit and insert.
That's my biggest. I usually don't care. Like if I don't pull anything, I don't pull anything. But if I get the same cards over and over again, I lose my mind a little bit. But especially with this set, because I look at this checklist and there's so many different players that I would be excited about. You know, I feel like a lot of times you're kind of chasing a few different guys, and there's no in between. It's very polarizing. It's either card I really don't even want to sleeve or insane pull. And that's not the case with 2022 Bowman Baseball. And the second the checklist came out, I was really excited to check it out, because like even from, you all of course have the Khalil Watsons of the world, and you know you have the George Valeras and the Ellie De La Cruzes and the guys that everyone's going to be hunting. But even the lesser known autographs in there, like a Jack Sawinski. I'm not saying like, oh man, who's this? Like Sawinski, it's up in the big leagues with the Pirates. Looks all right. Like he's an interesting player. Oscar Colas. He's a player that, was a Cuban guy in the Japanese league, was really interesting there. And like, now we'll see how it goes, but like has intrigue. Like there's just such widespread intrigue in this checklist that you really can't go wrong. And I'm excited. This is probably one of those that I will open as much as possible. I'm going to do some breaks with you guys. I'm going to do some breaks in the Loop app, as we mentioned earlier, which if you don't have that app, would be very helpful. You download it using loop.cards/justbaseball. The link's also in the description, so they know we sent you. But I know you guys are going to be on there pretty soon too. So it'll be fun to tune into those breaks as well. Before we move on to
our first, that you just announced it for the first time.
Yes. Yeah. It's as long as you don't scare them off in our approval meeting. But I figure since we're working with Loop already, it's pretty fair to. I mean, I literally have a jersey behind my head. It's pretty fair to assume on the wall. We'll be selling on there. Yeah, it's pinned on there. I pinned it all by myself.
At a babe.
Yeah, I'm a big boy now, but I'm also going to spend a lot of the big boy money on this set because I really am excited about this. Before we move on, like to the 5 big fallers, any other thoughts about 2022 Bowman baseball, whether people should be chasing after it in your breaks on Loop or whatever, and what you would kind of water it down to and explain what makes this one great or not?
Well, I think we talked a little bit about it in our break when we did it on Friday. It's a super hitter heavy product, which is fantastic. Kendall said it was probably close to, and I'll let you kind of expound on this a little bit more, but the 2017, 18, 19, 20-ish product rather than the 21st. The 21st or 2021 was kind of a down year for Bowman. And so this is returning to that standard that we kind of expect in this product. So we're really excited about the immense amount of hitters that are available. And right now, everything is kind of starting to hit eBay in terms of reselling. And the numbers that I'm seeing for some of these auto prices are absurd. We talked, oddly enough, not oddly enough, because this is what we do, but we were talking about on the State of the Division podcast, AL West. We kind of
we're doing our jobs.
Got into cards a little bit, and so we talked about Max Muncy, the A's prospect, because we're trying to pinpoint someone in the division.
You guys were talking about cards on State of the Division.
We give like 1 minute.
We do one card to buy in the AL West per week, so just a little bit of a crossover. Regardless,
hey, y'all put us in there, okay?
I know. I'm messing with you. Continue.
Anyway, Muncy's cards go, like one just sold 2 days ago or a day ago for $180. Like,
no
sell
way.
it if you rip it. Yes. So
Baby Acuna is going for $270.
In the A's spot, and like a case break is typically around $100. So snag that, chase it. I know that may sound like a lot, but you're talking about possibly in a case getting a number of chrome first, maybe some chrome color. You hit an auto, you've already doubled your money. I know that's not guaranteed, obviously, but still. That spot specifically has stuck out in my mind. It's something that I just kind of wanted to highlight. So
yeah,
anyway.
And one other thing I want to note, I was saying how many names I like, and I'm like staring at this list in front of me. I would venture to say there's 20 players I would be very, very happy to pull their autograph. And then a bunch more that I wouldn't be upset, but I'd say 20 to 25 in here. I'm like, that's a great pull, and I'm holding on to it. Like that's legitimately how many players I like in this checklist. And a lot of them were big risers on our top 100 list. Not many were fallers because we talked about how Bowman, was a little bit shaky. The checklists weren't as exciting. It was challenging for them with no 2020 season, but then it resulted in a very backloaded and stacked group here. A lot of these guys were guys we talked about on the risers side of things. Now we talk about fallers. So T, I'll give it to you here now. Who are we talking about? Who got the biggest drop on Just Baseball's top 100 list, which, by the way, you can find on the website right now as well.
Yes. So we will start with the 5th biggest follower and work our way 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 to the biggest follower and the faller on the list. So the 5th one's a bit of a surprise. It's a guy that is a card collector's favorite, a top prospect in the Pirates system, had a really solid last year in high A, and it's Nick Gonzalez. Nick Gonzalez dropped from 31st overall to 53rd overall. So only 22 spots, but that was a
only 22 spots.
That was a significant drop in comparison to others. And Nick, you can get his autograph for about $150 ish. It's a 2020 Bowman draft product. So, what about Nick's game maybe gave you some pause, Aram, or was it just the fact that you liked others more? Why the drop from 50 or 31st to 53rd overall for?
And also preface that Aram loves Nick Gonzalez.
Everybody does.
No, but he saw him so much in the Cape, like that it was for him to drop 22 spots. It's got to be serious.
Well, so actually, this is a crazy. So I, for full disclosure for the listener or the viewer, I don't know who the biggest followers were, because that's not something I ever like quantified when we made the top 100.
Yeah.
And I wasn't going to take the time to do it. So that's where T comes in. So I have no idea who T is throwing my way right now. And I hate that Nick Gonzalez is one of the biggest droppers, but I can really explain why. And it's less to do about any like immense concern that I have with him. I mean, he is off to a bit of a slow start in AA, 34% K rate thus far. He is walking a lot, but my thing is this, and Kendall kind of touched on it. I broadcasted in the Cape, and Nick Gonzalez was on the team I called games for, the Katuitt Kettleers, the entire summer. Not only was Nick Gonzalez the most impressive baseball player I had ever seen to that date, the makeup, like the way he approached the game, the way his teammates talked about him, my conversations with him, I was just thinking this guy's a big leaguer, and I still think that. But I watched this guy hit 340. I watched him hit 9 home runs, spraying all over the field. Every teammate's like, this guy's going to be an all-star, and that was right off of that. He parlays that into a top 10 draft pick, and we go into the season. I'm like, this guy is can't miss. I know he's a second baseman, but he's can't miss. Gets banged up last year. So we fast forward to now. He was banged up last year, still put up really good numbers, a little bit of concern with the swing and miss. And that's kind of where we're at now. He's still a second baseman. That's a top 60 prospect in baseball. I was expecting a bit more of like right out of the gate, Spencer Torkelson type of like hit the ground running. And that hasn't been the case. And that's okay. But when you're looking at the second baseman that are ahead of him, Nick York, and I see where Nick York's ranked, I can't put him in front of Nick York after what York did last year and York's age. So that's where it really got for me, was I was looking at the people that I would have been putting him in front of. And I'm like, I can't do that. I have that bias of seeing him, but I can't justify Nick York ahead of him or some of the other guys. But I'm still a big buyer of Nick Gonzalez. Now I'm a holder because I already bought enough, and that's not changing for me.
All right, good stuff. And we'll look a little bit more at the I kind of was going to talk about Nick a little bit, but we'll look at the couple guys that after we go through this list initially, we'll come back, look at guys that are right above him, right below him, those prices as well, and maybe who you would rather have at certain price points, much like we did with the risers. So fourth on the list, we're going to go with Mark Vientos, the third baseman for the Mets. He's in AAA right now. His auto price is around $50 to $70. It's a 2017 Bowman draft product. He dropped in rankings from 44th to 75th overall, so 31 spots. A guy that I've heard you talk about as well before that. I thought you were really high on at one point. His numbers from AAA haven't been all that bad last year, but he's off to a slow start this year, which I know that didn't have anything to do with his ranking. But what did you see that kind of made you balk or drop him almost 30 plus spots?
Yeah, he's a guy, I love the power. I really do. And another guy that I watch the video, I watch him in person, I see what he's able to do. He misses baseballs that leave the yard. And that was what I really liked about him. He was drafted as a shortstop, which is crazy because he's pretty immobile. And that's holding him back a little bit too. Like he can't really move, so he can't play corner outfield. He's not a great third baseman, so he's a bit stuck as a tweener here. And I am a little bit concerned that that's going to impact his value as a prospect a little bit. And that's more on the prospect side of things, right? So again, Mark Vance is at $50 to $70. it's worth a flyer for me, because if it all works for him, if he puts it all together, which I think he made some major strides last year, cut the K rate down, walks more, gets the ball in the air more, like all things that he needed to do. But as a prospect, when you don't have that position that, you can really be decent at, and there's questions no matter where you go, that's going to dock you on the prospect rankings. And you pair that with a little bit of swing and miss, and it's concerning. But at $50 to $70, still a no-brainer for me, because if it clicks for this guy, he's got 35, 40 home run power.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Okay, moving along. Third in the list is Mr. Dylan Dingler, the catcher for Detroit, now in Double-A. His auto price is about $25 to $30, really low right now. 2020 Bowman draft product. He dropped in the rankings from 63rd overall to completely unranked. So he dropped 37 spots and just completely fell off the charts. Wasn't super impressive in 2021. He's off to a slow start in 2022.
So doesn't that make him the biggest faller?
Oh, no, not at all. Well, I like the same way that we did with the risers. If someone moved from outside of the top 100 into the list, I just put them
started from 100. Yeah.
Default at 100 because there's no really way you can do that. So 37 spots, guy that strikes out a lot, not astronomical, but maybe more known for, he's really supposed to be a really athletic catcher and anything else. So what was it kind of about Dylan's game that just said this guy's no longer list worthy? So,
this is one where I think I'll be honest, I'll be honest with myself, because that's one that I was definitely a little bit too excited about. You talk yourself into the narrative of it a little bit, and sometimes, and don't actually let yourself just evaluate the player. And as a guy that watched JT Realmuto come up, I'm watching Dylan Dingler, who's playing center field for Ohio State. And I'm hearing, oh yeah, he's good behind the dish. And he can swing it too. And he's a really good runner. And I'm like, how many athletic catchers like this do we see, and I'm watching him hit, and I'm like, I like the bat, like it's coming along. And then he gets a little bit hurt. He never ends up playing in the Cape, and then 2020 shortened. So we don't get a ton of looks at Dylan Dingler, but what I saw, I liked. And I was like, oh, if we got more, it would have been more of the same. So we didn't really get too much of an opportunity. It was a really small sample size. And again, I still think he could be a great catcher. But then he goes out in the high A and tears it up. And I'm like, there's the rest of the sample size. Like, this is an athletic catcher who can swing it. Like, what else do you need? Not realizing and kind of getting away from something that I always do, which is you got to discount high A numbers for a college bat. High A in college are, it's kind of similar overall. Look at college guys, how many of them out of the draft demolish high A pitching, then hit a wall in Double-A. It happens all the time. It's exactly what happened with Dingler. And he's got a lot of a learning curve to do with actually catching, and offense comes secondary, and nobody cares how good you are of a defensive catcher when you're collecting cards. But that's the most important thing as a prospect. So it's backwards. And that's kind of where we're at. So he's a guy that's trying to learn everything defensively to make himself a big leaguer. And the bat comes second, but for investors, the bat comes first.
Yeah, that's good. Good stuff. Okay, number 2 on the list is going to be a guy that we have talked about ad nauseum, Jason Dominguez. We're going to
have to do this again.
Gotta do it. Okay, so his auto price is taking a massive hit. So about 2 weeks ago, maybe not 2 weeks ago, but 3 weeks ago, you were paying upwards of $500 for his autograph. Now there was one that sold a week ago, maybe, or few days ago for $225. So the market is massively adjusting here. And so,
all that I can think is how much is that 101 taking a massive price?
That's the first thing that came to my mind too. So
my gosh.
The market is adjusting. The top 100 is adjusting because he dropped from 27th overall to 83rd. So 56 spots. He's our second biggest faller. Talk to me about Dominguez and why he had such a precipitous drop.
I didn't even want to put him at 27. Like that was one that, again, like that was a ranking. It's funny. Like, the biggest droppers are like ones that are actually the most challenging of we're all like learning experiences from it. You guys can attest to this. I got to see Jason Dominguez in like his first week of professional baseball.
The one
above the complex.
swing.
And I'm watching this guy get blown up by 86, and the moving parts to his swing and the lack of game speed. Like everyone's talking about how fast this guy is, and I'm watching him move poorly, especially like laterally. His jumps in the outfield were bad. I'm like, this guy, he's a physical specimen, but this guy's not a baseball player yet. He could be, but not yet. And people are spending how much on his cards? I'll never forget. I was still hosting Locked On Marlins. I went home and I was like, this has nothing to do with the Marlins really, but I saw Jason Dominguez play one of the Marlins affiliates. Like, this is going to come crashing down. And it is. It doesn't mean he's doomed forever as a prospect. Like, he could still be a fine prospect. He's still a top 100 guy based on his potential and physicality and raw power and switch hitter. And he has a lot of great aspects. But we're talking about Jason Dominguez as a top 10 most valuable player in baseball, period, because that's what he was priced at. And that's where it was just blowing my mind.
Trout.
Blowing my mind. Yeah, I mean, he was matching prices that we don't see. And again, we got to like separate the baseball parallel with the cards. I'm just talking about the card perspective here. That's crazy. So on the prospect side, why did he fall so much? He really should have never been in the top 50. You know, he really shouldn't have. And hindsight's 2020, but like, I never saw him play in person. And personally, I don't like ranking guys in the top 50 that I haven't seen at least extensive video of or in person. There was no video on Dominguez. I didn't see much in person. I've talked to a lot of people and like, you got to have, even Baseball America guys, like everybody, they're like, you got to have him top 50. You got to have him like top 30. It's like, okay.
Yeah.
And
so if you
after I saw him, I wanted to drop him immediately, but I was like, I'll just do it in the next update.
So if you could go back, would you leave him out of that and face the absolute turmoil from all of baseball?
That was the thing. I definitely got intimidated out of that. Like I
peer pressured into it.
You know, like I just thought maybe there's something I'm missing here. Like, you know, I haven't seen anything in person. All these people are that have seen him in person are saying this, but I've never let that sway me before. But this was one where I was like, I've never heard so much hype. We got to throw him in there. No one's going to get mad at you for throwing him in there. And that was definitely one that I was influenced. I can't lie, but I was never what backs it up though, is I sold all of his cards immediately every time. Every time I pulled him, I sold him immediately from the get-go. That should have been telling in itself about my subconscious confidence in Jason Dominguez or lack thereof.
You literally sold one that you pulled and graded at the National.
You just like take it. Yeah, immediately.
I pulled it, graded it at Beckett. You sold it the next day.
I didn't do that with any other cards.
Yeah. I love it. Little peek behind the curtain. Arm's psyche. He's not a robot after all. So.
No, I got influenced.
No, that's Miller, man. Miller's the robot.
All right, the biggest faller in the list, Luis Campusano, the catcher for San Diego. The guy's been up and down, up and down. His auto price right now is $15. 2015 Bowman draft product. The guy dropped from 23rd overall to 91st, so 68 spots. And like I said, you go and you look at his Fangraphs data, you look at his time in AAA, you look at his time in the major leagues, and you're kind of wondering what in the heck is going on here. So help us understand the drop and also the player as well. So
I mean, Campusano is still a guy I really like. I think can be a really solid big league catcher.
How much you like him? Enough to buy a $15 auto now on the show?
Absolutely enough to buy a $15 auto. I think the power, the offensive potential is really exciting. He's a guy who's had a pretty wild stretch between getting arrested and then
totally forgot about that.
Yeah, no, he got arrested and then he, for marijuana, like a large amount of marijuana possession. It wasn't really a big deal, but it still is a blip in your radar, right? And a thing that you had to do and deal with, and then gets rushed to the big leagues, even though he should never have been in the big leagues. He made the jump in 2020 after never playing in above high A, He goes straight to the big leagues. First of all, when do you do that, period? Second of all, when do you do that with a catcher? So they bring him. They were so desperate, the Padres, and AJ Preller doesn't care. He fires from the hip, promotes a guy from high A as a 20-year-old to freaking the major leagues. And not only that,
Didn't he skip Mejia?
Yeah, I think he was hurt. That was after the Mejia trade, I believe. It was after they traded for Snell. So they make all those moves and rush him up there, and he struggles, stifled his confidence. And not only like was he forced to learn and catch big leaguers right away, they're also like, yeah, you're going to pinch it in the ninth. Like he had a bunch of pinches appearing. It was horrible. So then he gets sent back down to AAA, and he was great, right? Like the next year he starts off in AAA and he was great. He put up ridiculous numbers. Comes back up to the big leagues. They rush him, force him in bad spots, and he didn't need to be there. Or it's just to me, it was just a bunch of rush and back and forth. He should have gotten more ABs, let him settle in, let him get better, and that didn't happen. So they messed with his development. I think he's proven everything he needs to prove in AAA. Now I want to see him get the consistent at bats at the big league level. Now that he's had another 100-something games under his belt, but there's some makeup questions. There's some questions around the consistency, and that's where it's just a little bit of an issue for me, like to really keep him in the top 30, and especially look at the catchers ahead of him, like Andy Rodriguez, switch hitting catcher with athleticism that we've talked about picking up his cards. Shea Langeliers, is kind of doing what Campusano did, but with elite defense.
He is on a tear.
And so, like, how could you have Campusano ahead of him, right? Like Campusano, he's putting up the same offensive numbers with elite defense. So, that's kind of where it got for me. It was just people lapping him more than anything. But, I still think he could be a good catcher.
Yeah.
So you think he stays there?
Yeah. Yeah. I would pick it. I mean, for $15, I'd take his card, but I think there's other $15 cards I'd rather have.
Okay. So real quick, before we go into like comps or players right around them, Nick Gonzalez at 150, Vientos at, let's say 60, Dingler at 30, Dominguez at who knows what. If you get him at $250 to $300, maybe that's probably what you're probably going to pay.
I still wouldn't take it.
Raw.
What a steal.
And Campusano at 15. Both of you, out of those five guys, who at which price point are you interested in buying into?
You want to go first, Kendall?
Sure, I know my answer.
What's your answer?
It's Nick Gonzalez.
Still, wow, yeah.
At $150.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, partially because I do believe in him as well. Partially because I am probably higher on second baseman than I should be, because I was a second baseman. And so like I have like this weird like love for second baseman out there.
No, I would go Vientos or Gonzalez. I think Vientos at the price point, but I love Nick Gonzalez still. He's a guy that is just too talented for me.
He's again, so liquid in the hobby.
Yeah,
that's what it comes down to for me.
Yeah,
you can put an auto out there and it's gonna sell,
which is great. And I'm telling you, makeup wise, like the guy just knows how to approach the game. But the things I saw him do with a wood bat and going like oppo for home runs, turning around 100-mile-an-hour fastballs, like he can do it. It's in there. I think it's just been a wonky year and a half, and he's going to hit his stride. And then I think we're going to be like, oh, why do we even, have any doubt? So yeah, that I'd probably go Nick too, still even at that price.
Cool. Okay.
Do you think he's hiding in O'Neill's shadow a little bit?
O'Neill's hiding in his own shadow right now.
Well, that's a different conversation. Yeah.
All right. So let's talk a little bit about this. This is where it gets kind of interesting for all these guys. So
wait, what would you choose?
None of them.
That wasn't an option.
Is that an option?
No.
Okay. Well, like
that is Campusano for 15.
That's what I'm saying. Like Campusano, like if I go back and I read your write-up of what you think he has the potential of being, if he gets everything worked out mentally and physically, and he kind of grows up a little bit, $15.
Yeah, no, it's a no-brainer.
Give it to me. Like I that's it, I guess.
He's stupidly talented, and that's one thing I will always. It's crazy how talented he is.
Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna start with him. Again, 91st overall, auto price $15, 27 Bowman draft if you're looking for his product. Right above him, you have our darling Indy Rodriguez at 84. Below him, you have Harry Ford at 96. Those are the two guys that sandwich Campusano. Rodriguez, Indy, you can get his not base, but chrome first auto for around $40 still. There were some that just sold just recently, maybe even a little less if you really dig. Harry Ford, his auto is going for $300 to $400.
Shut up.
Yeah, he is.
One went on April 17th. So what was that 2 weeks ago, 2.5 weeks ago, for $520.
Yep.
I
People
can't
are
even
stupid high on him.
think
Wait,
about like why.
How did that happen? Like, so where did that come from? And like, because in the prospects world, I'm talking to people and he's really like well regarded, but this isn't somebody that every evaluator is like saying this is the next guy, right? Like there's not like little rumblings. He's really talented, really good. I'm very excited to see how he develops, but this isn't someone that's getting some like underground hype or anything. Like where's this coming from with Harry Ford?
I think it's the athleticism with him.
Yeah,
like,
I mean he's a freak.
People don't expect him to stay at catcher, and
he can play center.
Right, and so I think that's building into the hype, which honestly should be building into Indy's hype as well.
Yeah,
but he also is coming out of the most recent release as of April 17th. Yeah. So April 17th, Bowman 22 wasn't out yet. Draft was the most recent Bowman stuff that came out, and Harry Ford was a big chase in that product.
Yeah, he was. But still, I mean, you've got Campusano at 15, Rodriguez at 40, or Ford at, let's say you're lucky and get one for 300. My picks with Indy. I don't know about you guys.
It's Indy all day. I think it's pretty clear that we would pick Indy because me and you both have an out of 5 of him.
Yeah, you guys own 40% of the market. Yeah, and again, it's funny because we'll always be transparent about that. But the reason why you guys own those two is not by chance. It's because we've been hammering Andy Rodriguez for a while. I was going to say, like, would it be better to be transparent about what we have? I think absolutely, because it shows we're putting our money where our mouth is there. It's like, but that's one that
making plays that other people aren't.
Exactly. And I sent you guys, him a while ago and was like, this guy's insane. And he just continues to exceed expectations. And he's so athletic that if it doesn't work out behind the dish, he can play anywhere. So yeah, no brainer, Indy.
Yep. Okay.
An interesting thing about Indy, sorry, I know that you're on track here. I told T this the other day, but typically when I know that a guy is in the public market's eye is when I see him on Sports Card Investor, like when there's actually a card that has recent sales or whatever on Sports Card Investor. And Indy, as of like 2 weeks ago, Indy finally has one card on Sports Card Investor that they're tracking. And I mean, so that still means he's so early on. I mean, like Julio has like 50 cards they're tracking and Indy has one.
Yeah.
So it's cool. Still probably a great buy.
Early on him, yeah. Okay, Dominguez is next. Since we're going kind of back up in reverse order, auto price again $225 to $500, which is nuts. Above him at 79, you have Jairo Pomares, and below him you have Everson Pereira around 87. So you've got him sandwiched.
Some names, baby.
Interesting guys, but both like Pomares is $65 ish, kind of for his 2021 Bowman Chrome Auto. Pereira, his 2020 Bowman Chrome is around $80 to $90. So, do you like Pomares that much more than Dominguez, or are they even comparable? Like, what would you do there?
So are we looping also Pereira into this?
Yes.
Because he's far and away my favorite.
Okay.
Pereira to me he's got a crazy ceiling. Crazy, like he's explosive. It's been a matter of just not really seeing him for too many games. Look at what he did last year in high A. Guy played 27 games and he hit 14 home runs. He is explosive. He puts up really high exit velos. He has some swing and miss, but he also walks a bunch. He still has kept the K rate under 30%. The slugging on contact is phenomenal. He's a good athlete and he can stick in center. I think Pereira is one of the more underrated guys. He just turned 21. I think his skill set's really exciting. We're one of the few that even have him on a top 100 list, which I think is interesting. So I'm way higher on Pereira. And the only reason why he's not ranked higher is kind of going back to the other point is like, learning my lesson through the years. And, I'm not going to, I really like what I'm seeing, but I'm not putting a guy in the top 50 if we haven't seen that many games from him, or there's not something just clear cut insane about him. This guy's really good. And he's a full season away from being, in the top 50, really.
Okay. So Pereira is your choice. Kendall.
Can you give me the prices again?
Dominguez at let's just say 250 to 300.
I don't really care about that because I'm not buying Dominguez.
Pomerez at 65-ish and Pereira at 80 to 90. So not too far off, really.
I'm probably not buying any of these, but if you had to say you have to buy one of them, I'm gonna just take Pereira. I mean, the cheaper option, $65.
65, and he's 79th overall, so he's a little bit above.
It's Pereira the one that was 65.
No, he's 90.
No, Pereira's at 80 to 90, and he's 87th overall on the top 100.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. The third on the list is Dingler. Again, his auto price is 25 to 30th. He dropped out of the rankings, so there's not really anyone we can comp him to. But are there any of the guys in maybe the Campusano conversation, Indy, Ford, which we're already pretty low as is, that you would rather have him over? Like, would you take Dingler over Campusano maybe, if you're trying to think about it strictly from an investment standpoint? 25 to 30 bucks, Dingler, tough to comp him because he's no longer on the list. So
yeah, I wonder what do you think Matt McLean's going to go for? Is he going to go for a decent amount? Is he already going, like, what's he selling for at the moment?
I can take
Matt McLean's guy. I'd put money in. Honestly, at that point, I'd put money in like a pitcher instead.
Wow.
Dang.
I'm sorry. I know that's like shameful.
You don't like Dingler at all? I mean, that's what that says to me.
It's just he's a catcher, man. Like I just don't like catchers. I just to me, there's too much going on. It's so hard to hit. Yeah, Endy's not a catcher to me. Like
and MJ
to me is also not a catcher. Like he is a catcher, but he's like the offense is unless you are elite off the charts offensively and the bat is the calling card. I'm good. Okay.
Well, to your point.
Who collects JT Realmuto?
What'd you say?
Who collects JT Realmuto? And that's like the pinnacle of defense and offense.
Well, I collect the catcher, but for a different reason. So I'm just going to ask you to choose between these two guys, Sam Huff or Dingler. Which one do you take?
Sam Huff.
That's what I'm talking about.
And I think both.
I just wanted to throw you that softball so that you could hit it out for myself.
Sam Huff, for sure.
Yeah, the only auto I can find of Matt's is a green chrome first. So it's an out of 99, and it's got 4 days left. It's an auction. It's already at $73.
I have a Matt.
I'm going to bid on that.
I have a Matt auto.
It's got 4 days left. This thing's going to go.
I'm going to bid on it.
It's going high.
Bid on it.
Good luck. You can also get his out of 50 for $1,999 or best offer. So knock yourself out. Next on the list is Mark Vientos. Again, auto price $50 to $70 in the 2017 Bowman draft product. Above him at 71, you have Orelvis Martinez, and below him you have Kobe Mayo at 80. So Martinez's autograph goes for about 200-ish, and Mayo's is about 90. Martinez is in that 2019 Bowman Chrome product, and Mayo is in the 2021 Bowman Chrome product. So
there's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Kobe Mayo, and it's
Absolutely.
not even, to me, it's not even close.
Absolutely.
Kobe Mayo. Well, first of all, Elvis is a guy that the bat's going to have to carry everything, right? And okay, that's good for card guys, but like I've never seen a more pull happy approach. I think he's going to get exposed a little bit more through the upper levels with more hard stuff, breaking stuff away. I'll send you guys a picture of his spray charts after this. It's crazy. But it's just pull side everything. And I just don't know if that's going to translate. Defensively, he's not great. I still think he's exciting, but I would price him more in the 80 to 90 range, not 200, but he's a very popular prospect name. Kobe Mayo has the same amount of power potential. He's 6'5". He's still filling out. He's a high school guy. Marjorie Stoneman Douglas, same school as Anthony Rizzo, Jesus Luzardo, Colton Welker. Crazy power potential. But what really stands out to me is how advanced of a hitter he was from the jump. I don't think anybody was expecting that. Not a lot of teams were trying to take him in the first round to sign him away from the University of Florida because that was that was a steep sign, and the Orioles really liked what they saw, and they went way over swap for him, and he was phenomenal in 27 games in low A, and he's been really solid in high A as a guy that, just turned 20 as a high schooler. It's super rare. So I love the upside. I think he's a guy that's going to climb and could be into the top 40 prospects by midseason. And I'm really excited about him. I think the bat to ball has been a really pleasant surprise, and the power is no joke.
That's good. So Kendall, you agree? You're a Mayo guy yourself?
Yeah, I do not like Arelis, so yeah.
Okay. So last one is Nick Gonzalez. Kind of hard because there's not really another true second baseman around him until you get up to Nick York, which then you're basically back where Nick was previously ranked. So other middle infielders, which is kind of tough because shortstop, you have a little bit of a premium there and price point, everything like that, are Ellie De La Cruz, which is right above him at 52. Gonzalez is at 53. And then Oswald Peraza is right below him at 55. So De La Cruz, good luck getting an auto of his, because at this point right now, it's about as high as it's going to be. There's an auction right now with 4 days left, and it has 11 bids on it, and it's already at $305.
Wow.
That's for a Bowman Chrome First, like auto, no color, no nothing. So that's going to be
that's going to go for like $500,
$600 card.
You think that price sustains?
No way.
None of these.
So what happens? So this stuff just drops, and then the prices are crazy high out of the gate, and then they just drop later.
They drop and then they creep back.
So then why not? So when you pull stuff, you should just like sell it.
Yeah, I was gonna say that earlier. Is basically like any hit you pull right now, you've got to put it on eBay, even
and
if
you can just buy it back for cheaper later.
Most likely, unless it's some guy that just turns into an absolute, like, there's just a cult following around him, and
that's going to be Ellie De La Cruz
and the Torques and the Dominguez's of the world. So,
look at what we saw in 2021. Maximo Acosta came right out of the gate.
That was
so
hilarious.
high. Gabriel Arias, not high at all. And then after a while, you just saw it go like this. And there will be guys that do that, in this product. But at the same time, Blaze Jordan is not going for the money that he was going for right out of the gate.
That's true.
That's a good comp.
Even though Blaze is probably the best out of the three. Well, I don't know. Gabriel's pretty good. I don't know.
So Peraza's about $60 to $80. So you have quite a wide range there. $60 to $80 for Peraza, $150 for Nick Gonzalez, and then De La Cruz. I don't even know what happens there, but we're already north of $300. What do you guys got?
Lord.
None of them? I mean,
I'd still take Nick, but
yeah. So it was Ellie De La Cruz, Nick, and who?
Oswald Peraza.
Nick.
Yeah, it's Nick for me too.
Yeah, it's got to be Nick.
As much as I want an Ellie, I'm not buying it right now. So maybe in a year that's different. Yeah. But
all right, those are the biggest fallers in the JB Top 100. Gonzalez, Vientos, Dingler, Dominguez, and Campusano. A lot of good conversation around those guys, and a lot of other guys that were mentioned in this whole conversation that are going to spark, hopefully, a lot of comments. So let us know what you think.
I think it's so interesting that those were all guys, well, besides Campusano, those were all guys that filled our group chat.
Yeah, no, it's true. Those are guys. They're very relevant guys
all the time.
Hey, trust me, it hurt me to drop Nick. I was not happy to do it.
That's what I think is different from prospecting lists to card prices, because you dropped Nick 20 spots in the prospect list. Did his price cards, does card price affect that? Absolutely not.
No, and my perspective on like the cards that I have, I've never thought once about selling them or anything like that. Because I was the first guy I was like chasing in individual breaks when I was getting back into, prospects, Bowman products. The Cape, working in the Cape really got me into that, because that 2022 Bowman draft was, all guys I saw. So it was really fun for me. But quick plug, by the way, someone that I'm definitely, I talked about it, I think in the last episode, that we're definitely trying to scoop up. It's already really expensive, but a player that I like his cards. We just talked to him. Robert Hassel III, just interviewed him on the call up. awesome dude. I just bought multiple spots and breaks, by the way, though, with the Padres in 2020 draft, just because I want to pull Robert Hassel stuff. I believe in him so much as a hitter. And now after talking to him too, really believe in his psyche and the way he approaches the game. But check that interview out on the Call Up. That podcast will be out tomorrow. When you're watching this, it'll be one more day after that, but very excited for you all to check out that interview as well. And of course, check out these guys on Wildcards. What is it? It's Wildcards _ LLC. Did I get that, T?
That's right. That's right.
Let's go. So that's on Twitter.
Yep.
And then Facebook group.
Facebook group is Wildcards Box Breaks. We are slowly shifting to doing the majority of our stuff on Twitter, and that's where we're posting all of our breaks. We've got a ton of stuff that's coming up, so we're really excited about that. You'll definitely want to check us out if you're interested in chasing any of these 2022 players. We're going to have the product so you can chase them. So I did want to ask you, do you have anything else?
No, go ahead. What you got?
We had a question on the comment section of our last episode that we posted to Twitter, and it's on a current big league player, a guy that's off to kind of a hot start. His name is Andres Jimenez. Obviously, we all know him, but he's playing great right now. And so one of our listeners wanted to know kind of what do you think about Jimenez from a card collecting standpoint? Obviously, his offensive production is fantastic right now, but is that somebody that's worth investing in from a card perspective?
Yeah. So first of all, again, as the player, I'm definitely sold on what we're seeing from Jimenez. Like, I think people forget that he's just 23 years old because he got up to the big league so quick. Really good defender, switch hitter, really good speed. But there's not that much power there. I think he could maybe, push into 15, 18 home runs. But when I look at him from a card perspective, I just don't know how many people are lining up to collect, a 5'11", 160-pound middle infielder who's going to slap the ball around, hit 280, 290 with like a 330, 340 on base percentage. You know what I'm saying? Like that's what you're hoping for. And that's a phenomenal outcome. And you're thrilled if you're a Guardians fan or, if you're related to Andres Jimenez or he's your friend. But I just don't think people are like lining up. I just don't think people are going to be lining up for that guy's card, if that makes sense. But if you're like a Guardians fan, by all means, scoop that up, like collect him because he's going to be a good Guardians player for a while. And I'm sure the value would go up as he has a good career. But it's not going to be enough for people to be, at least in my opinion, lining up to buy this guy. He's a good shortstop.
Love it. Love it. Love the response. Love the questions too. Like that's the kind of thing we want to hear from you guys. Specific players, Aram, Kindle, they both have the knowledge to really flesh it out.
Can I tune in real quick on that one?
Yeah, of course.
Jimenez, great guy. I'm a big guy on stolen bases. Big guy on stolen bases. So like he's a guy. He's a big guy, but what I would say is there are so many guys in this Guardian system that are going to be much more valuable than Jimenez.
That's a good point too.
And I mean, literally, I can name like three right off the top of my head. Right off the top of my head: Noel, Rocchio, and Gabriel Arias. Boom. There's three that are definitely going to be better than him. So.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's totally, and then you got Valera, like that's about in the new drop too. Like and I know he's not in
Valera's prices are insane right now.
Yeah, so I mean, there's guys all over, but again, he's going to be a solid player. And again, if you have any questions, feel free to fire those away in the YouTube comments here or wherever else you might be watching this. Definitely look forward to answering some of those. Guys, you have a break coming up before we wrap it up for people to look out for?
Oh yeah, big time. We're posting our first look at the 2022 hobby boxes tomorrow. As soon as we get them,
let's go.
We're expecting a couple cases to be in, and they will be live as soon as we get our hands on them. So,
all right, and I'll take the Guardian spot on that one, please. Looking forward to that. Between Noel and Valera, I'll be in on that. I might buy more spots because like I said, the checklist is crazy. But thank you all for taking the time to tune in. If you want to check out the Loop app, and we'll be on there very soon, please use the link in the description, or you can type it in your URL, loop.cards/justbaseball, so they know we sent you. Super helpful. That'll do it for this episode of Cardboard Consultants, and we will talk to you all next week.